Good afternoon. Like Menzer mentioned, my name is Chris Larson, and currently I'm a geotechnical engineer at Stanley Consultants. But my real passion in life over the last 10 years has been doing sustainable infrastructure projects in developing countries through an Engineers Without Borders organization. And I'm just here to share with you my experiences and lessons learned over the past 10 years through this organization. So just kind of paint a first picture for you all. Imagine that you have a project site. It's in rural Honduras, and every day when you go up to work on this site, it's a 3-mile hike up the side of a mountain. It's 95 degrees, sweltering humidity, and you better take a load of materials up with you because not very many vehicles can make it up to this hill. And then once you do get up there, there's none of this fancy excavators or drill rigs to do your geo borings and all that. It's only you, your boots, and your hand auger. With that stuff, would you be confident that you could evaluate a foundation system for a large water storage tank or a school? Do you think you could come up with a bearing capacity for the foundations of those structures? These are the types of challenges that the engineers with EWB have to face all over the world through their work. Whether it's in Honduras or Peru and all over Latin America or all the way over to Africa. And whether it's a water distribution system or a school. The ultimate goal of EWB is to build an effective and a sustainable infrastructure for these underserved communities. And it's not only about climbing mountains and doing difficult work, it's the little things too, growing in a relationship with them and even enjoying the fresh avocados and coconuts. Working in these areas really provides you with a deeper understanding of both simplicity and ease of construction. Because while to build this like a large storage tank as shown here, you have to place the concrete by hand through buckets. And when a 6 cubic yard concrete pour is 350 buckets, that's a long back-breaking day. And that's really where the partnership with these communities is so critical, because they provide all the volunteer labor who move the 350 buckets, who do the concrete mixing, who lay all the block. And without that partnership and their volunteer hours to do these projects, they wouldn't be able to be done. The other thing to keep in mind is you may have to mix concrete on the ground. Who knows if you're going to be able to get a quarter-yard concrete mixer in there. Maybe you have to deal with poor quality aggregate. It's dealing with all these unideal circumstances that really make these projects challenging. There was many challenges throughout the construction of this water storage tank that we completed in 2018, and the biggest was probably constructing the formwork to do raised concrete pour. How do you, out of not having any adjustable joists and using all wood, how do you get that formwork up there and flat enough and level and sturdy enough where it could take all this concrete? The strong partnership also means that you can rely on their expertise of jungle construction when you're working in these difficult areas, whether it's on a rock here building a pipe bridge in the middle of the dense jungle, even further up that mountain, and you're utilizing cut timber from the woods around for the formwork, or you're harvesting rocks for your gabion anchors, or even the sand straight from the river sifted for the concrete. Or you may be literally working between a rock and a hard place, and you're just having to deal with whatever's presented in your conditions and finding the most effective solution. So that's a sedimentation tank there that we're expanding onto and utilizing some of their existing infrastructure. This partnership also relies on education, and education is probably the single greatest thing that will make or break a project. It's educating them why do we use PVC glue and primer? Why isn't it just glue? Isn't that why it's called PVC glue? It's because they've never even heard of primer usually, but primer is the most important part. Or it's also, why do we bury pipes? When you see an existing system, all their pipes are always just laid out on the ground and connected with these rubber straps that go around them, and they're jammed together, and they're leaking everywhere, and it's just not a very effective solution, but it's all they know. And then it's also educating them why we do what we do as engineers. Why is a distribution network like this not a good idea when you have your main running down the water line, but then you have 6 taps going off to the homes back upstream, and that just destroys the serviceability and the effectiveness of the system. So why is that? And it's training them so they can take this knowledge and expand on it and potentially assist other communities. The big example I like to share all the time is when they have a system that's existing, they'll leave their taps on all day, every day, because typically their tanks are not sized properly where they'll get enough water, be able to store enough water for their use throughout the day. So if it rains and it's at night, they leave their taps on so then they can just get water and they store it in a bucket. Well, then we come in and we do a properly sized storage tank and system that can meet their needs, but then they continue to leave their taps open because this is generational, experience and habit that they have to break, and trying to educate them on why you no longer have to do this. You can have water on demand. You don't have to leave your tap open and hope it rains overnight so you can have water to drink the next day. But then they'll continue to do this, and then it'll adversely affect our systems. The tanks will be dry all day, so they won't have the storage. And that's been one of the greatest challenges for me personally. And I have not found a perfect solution to fix that issue, so I'm still learning. And then it's also learning from them. There's certain parts of engineering and design that are critical to the success of a project, whether it's, educating them that slump actually matters in concrete, and you can't just add a bunch of water so it can flow easier and be more workable. That's a direct correlation to the strength, or how to do proper masonry work and, masonry joints. But then it's also learning from them and how to do formwork or work with the materials they have. It's having that partnership where you know when to push them, and this is the way it has to be done, and know when to say, okay, yeah, maybe our way isn't necessarily the best in this circumstance, and we're trying to learn from you and grow from you as well. And that's the big part of sustainable infrastructure, is this partnership and the education on both sides. In the end, these sustainable infrastructure projects are a very complex problem. There's multiple facets of issues and politics that go on in these communities, and we barely scratch the surface today. And the responsibility really falls on us as engineers and contractors to use our skills to build a better world for these communities who are in need. They're in need of simple things just as drinking water or schooling for their children so they don't have to choose one child over the other to go to school. Whether it's from design, fundraising, marketing, we do it all at EWB, and we are always in need of additional assistance. So I put it on all of you and challenge all of you today to reach out to your local EWB organizations. They're from California to New York, even in Minnesota. They're all over the states, and there's one in your backyard most likely. And it's on us to take that first step up the mountain and provide our skills. Thank you.